Working with investors, it's my favorite subject. It's how I've made my money, how we've moved forward with building our business and being able to create passive income. Not just from the investments that we do, but from actually servicing our investors. That's caused the passive income for us. We understand that investors buy lots of property. Hands to the camera if you know investors buy lots of property. Go ahead, Eustace. You're the only one with a camera. There you go. Good to see you, brother. And Marcia, turn that camera on so I can see you. Springer, are you in? Are you a panelist yet? All right, Matt Springer is jumping in. There he is. Okay, so working with investors is a whole process. There's a lot of information around it. This is not like working with the normal person who just knows what they want to buy for a house and wants to live there because the pretty porch location in the schools. Investors have a whole different structure. They have a whole different reason that they buy. The main reason is cash flow. The second reason is appreciation. We want to make sure that we're servicing our investors by making sure that they're getting what they're looking for, which is ultimately more cash in their pockets. We agree? Yes? Cash in their pockets? That's the goal. Excellent. That said, as an agent investor, you want to make sure you're qualifying those investors. What makes a real investor? The definition of an investor is somebody who buys property over and over again for profit. Somebody who buys property for profit is an investor. Somebody who just buys property, well, they're probably a retail buyer. Somebody who buys property just for the sake of buying property is a retail buyer. And somebody who says that they want to buy property for investment does not necessarily make them an investment buyer. Does that make sense? Hand to the screen. Matt, we see you driving, brother. Who's that beautiful girl on the side of you? Oh, let me unmute you. There she is.
A realtor
She's a realtor.
I think I know you.
She's a realtor in Rhode Island, so
nice.
We're going to get her on board soon.
Very good. We love the Rhode Island market, make lots of money out there. In fact, I just got off the phone with one of my lenders. He said, dude, like, I'll lend in Fall River, but I'd really rather lend in Rhode Island. So there are people who are super loyal to Rhode Island. We've learned.
Be here.
Really yeah. All right, I'm going to mute you guys because Matt's got a loud car, even though it's a beautiful car. Cheers, bro.
Actually, it's off. We're parked by the ocean. It's actually beautiful. We're in Newport.
Well, in that case, I'll leave you unmuted. But if you start making noise, better believe I'll mute you in a second. That's it.
No problem.
There are two types of investment buyers. There are prospects who could potentially become a deal. And then there's something called a suspect. And they look like a prospect. They look like they're going to be a deal. But in the end, they actually are not. Does that make sense? Excellent. So we talked about this a little bit last week. We were talking about the whole point in being an investment agent, why it makes more sense. And now when we're talking about prospects and suspects, there are a couple of key things that suspects do that prospects never would. One of those things is they say, well, I'm looking to buy real estate. And everybody says this, right? But the second part is when you ask them, okay, what city do you want? A suspect will say, it doesn't matter. Write that down. A suspect has no clue what city they want to invest in. If you say, oh, but what about Rhode Island? They'll say, yeah, sure. If you say, what about Mass? They'll say, yeah, sure. If you say, how about Connecticut? They're like, yep, I want Connecticut. And so they're all over the place, so they never actually make a decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A mind who hasn't made a commitment to an area cannot make a commitment to a closing. It starts with area, then it goes down to the zip code, then type of property, and then the numbers. The numbers, believe it or not, are last. The reason investors are always talking about the numbers is because they know the rest. Does that make sense? Investors are all about the numbers, right? Because they're true investors. A true investor is going to be talking about the numbers, not location. They're going to immediately they're going to be like, dude, I only buy in this area. That's it. This is the only type of property I buy. This is the location I buy in. Everybody else is suspect. So they may be able to sound like they know what they're talking about. They may talk the talk, but if they can't give you a location, you'll never be able to close them. Fair?
Fair.
And I've been in the business long enough to see that as one of those suspect clues. Another suspect clue is when you say, what form of lending are you using? What are you using for money to close? And they say, oh, I'm not sure. What do you suggest? This is a suspect. I mean, they could potentially become a prospect, but they're a suspect. If they say, oh, I'm using seller financing, that's too much of a niche. It's not enough meat on the bone. Like, it's fine to use seller financing. We use it all the time, but it can't be the only way they're buying. Does that make sense? If somebody's only way to buy is seller financing, that means they're missing out on private money. That means they're missing out on gap lending. They're missing out on hard money. They're missing out on a lot of different options that are far easier to get to than seller financing. And although I totally agree, I want to seller finance every deal that we ever buy, you have to make sure that you're dealing with a real investor, somebody who actually can raise capital and get you to the closing. Because at the end of the day, yes, you want to help somebody make money, and your job as a realtor is to go and add value to that investor's business. But if that investor is not a true investor, they can't close their own deals. It's also going to hurt you in your business by spending a lot of time helping them out. Does that make sense? So although I hate that realtors typically will only say, look, if you don't have a pre-approval, I'm not going to work with you. There's also got to be another side of that where it's be reasonable. Make sure that seller financing is not their only option. If they have the ability to raise private capital, now it's a real investor. If they have the ability to go hard money, real investor. If they have the ability to go and get a commercial loan, so you're looking at multiple deals, that could be a real investor. If they're willing to do a portfolio loan and put it all together, that could be somebody worth working with. But make sure that the investors you're working with don't have only one option to finance. Because when the deal falls apart, because that's the only play they have, the deal falls apart. Does that make sense? Yes. So as an agent investors, it's our job to not only help them to increase their portfolio and do more, it's also our job to make sure that we do more and we're able to make some money. We all want to make some money on this call?
Man.
Excellent. Excellent. Hell yeah. Amen.
Hell yes.
We want to do it working less hours, right?
Of course, it's summertime.
That's right. So it's all about qualifying. It's all about qualifying your buyers. Now, I've given you some of the clues as to what makes a suspect a suspect. Here are some of the clues to find a prospect, a true prospect. When they come to you and they, one, know exactly what demographic they're shopping in. If they said to me, hey, I'm looking to buy in Fall River, and I'm looking for 3 families that are 40 or 50,000 a unit, this is what I'm looking for. Okay, excellent. I know they're looking for 3 families at 150, right? And Matt knows I'll instantly put them into MLS at 180, right? I'm not going to put them in at 150 search. I'm going to go 30% higher to make sure that there's a potential to even negotiate or bring them in close to what they're looking for, right, Matt?
If anybody finds 3 families for 50,000 a unit, send them to me, please.
Well, I just bought 11 units for 50,000 each, so they do exist. So it is out there. It's just a matter of hunting. Here's another sign for a real, true investor worth working with. They tell you they want to buy off market. If somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm looking for property in this area, I don't want MLS, I want to buy off market, most agents shut off. Most agents walk away. Most agents say, yeah, dude, all I do is MLS. Like, I don't know what you're trying to get me to do. For an investor agent, that's the client you cling on to, right? They're smart. They know off market, right? Matt is like, dude, if you find 50,000, like, I'll buy it, right?
Send this. I'll write the check tomorrow.
You want off market. Eustace, you want on market or off market?
Off.
Off market. Dorina, I know you're on the call. You want on market or off market? Dorina, you still there with us?
Well, yes, I
Brian,
am here. Sorry. Off market.
Off market. What about you, Marcia? On market, off market. Alan, what do you think? On market or off market?
Definitely off market.
Definitely off market.
I'll make either one.
100% Alan. So off market is the winner. And if we think about it, as agents, why are we stopping when somebody says off market? It's because we don't know how to market offline, yes? Right? Here's the deal. If your investment buyer is willing to learn how to market offline, now you've got a real buyer. Now you've got a real investor. If they're willing to spend the money on marketing so that you can go out and do all the appointments, because look, they can spend the money on marketing, they're not going to go do the appointments the way you would do the appointments. You're a negotiator, right? You've trained your whole business on negotiating sales, understanding how to bring a seller's price down. So if your investor is looking to buy property off market, they're going to have to market for you. Is that fair to say it's a new concept? Is a new
like
concept
that.
having your investors pay for marketing?
I like that.
It's been working for me for a while. In fact, I've even bought deals that other people paid for the marketing for. So it's a new concept for a lot of agents, but this is how you qualify your clients in a seller's market. You've got to get your investment buyers paying for the marketing. Otherwise, you're like every other agent and you got to end up broke, because it's just so hard to find a deal for an investor who wants an off-market deal, right? Your first thought, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I only want off-market deals, your first thought as an agent is, yep, fuck it, I'm out. All right, can't work with you, bro, right? Unless you add this one little piece. The next piece is when they come to you and they say, look, I'm willing to pay for the market. You know, they come, they know what marketing they're going for. They're willing to pay for the marketing, and they have the financing lined up. They've got hard money, got private money. They got the ability. They're telling you, hey, look, we may have to go seller financing. I want you to ask about it. It's not necessary. We can close hard money. I've got a pre-approval letter. I've got a potential, if we go commercial, I've got a LOI, letter of intent from a bank saying close this kind of property. This is somebody who's strong, somebody who's made moves. Here's the other qualifier. Fourth, have they closed deals in this arena before? Have they done deals like this before? If they're a fledgling, if they're new to this and they're just looking to, there's probably a chance they're working with 100 other agents. Who has heard that investors, buyers are liars, right? Investors, don't work with investors. They're not loyal. They work with so many different people. Who's heard that before?
They all do.
Every single brokerage I've ever before told me that. They said, dude, don't waste your time with investors. They're not loyal. They bounce all over the place. Like they don't care who brings them the deal. Like, yeah, of course, because you're not bringing them the deal. What is it? Go ahead.
Mines are.
Of course they are. Of course they are. That's the reality of it. Investors are super loyal.
I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Oh.
She's in Rhode Island. She's
Well,
in Rhode
I'm
Island.
a Rhode Island agent, and for some reason, I just got some Spanish speaking clients in Fort River. So that's why I'm saying they're loyal to me.
They're loyal.
Yeah, so she speaks Spanish, so they love that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
if you have a referral for me, just let me know.
That's a hustler right there. That's a smart agent. So what I'll say is that, yes, they're loyal because of the Latin-speaking community. So it makes it easier for you to run with them because you speak their language. There are other ways to get that kind of loyalty out of an investor without speaking their language, right? You can pick up a Latin investor speaking just English or a Russian investor speaking English if you can get them something that they're looking for, and that's knowledge. If you can give them the knowledge to find a deal off market, if you can teach them how to invest and find those marketing deals so that you go on those appointments, you crush that for them and get them that opportunity for them to move to the next level. If you can help them get the financing, right? If you have the hard money lender or the private money lender, or you can connect them with the commercial lender, the portfolio lender, if you can do those little extra pieces that most agents don't know how to do, right? Like I just raised $300,000 today for a deal I'm working on. That was 3 phone calls I had to make. 3 phone calls, lined up 100,000, then I lined up 200,000, then the other phone call was lining up another 100 that I'm not going to use yet, right? So, but 300,000 I lined up, actually locked in, and we're closing in a week on one of those deals. The other one we're closing in 3 weeks from phone calls, right? If you can teach your investors how to line up money, otherwise I wouldn't be able to close these. Does that make sense? So
it does, but
go ahead.
Well, if you guys need some car lenders, I have some available too.
Apartments. We're talking about buying houses, buying apartment buildings.
Yeah.
No, she has a lot of hard lender connections too, which is good.
Perfect. So that's a good realtor. So a realtor has those hard money connections, private money connections, is a valuable realtor. You would say that you're rare, right? There's not too many agents can do that.
Absolutely, yep. She is. She's good at it too.
Fair to say. So an anomaly, right? That's what makes people loyal to you. And yes, speaking their language is important, but speaking their language is even more important. When the language is money, hey, how do we get the money? that helps them move forward. So it's important to have your niche, right? If you speak Latin, if you speak Spanish, they're Spanish, that's a powerful niche. If you can teach them how to finance, how to find deals, how to find money, boom, they're gonna be even more addicted to what you're doing and where you can take them in the business. Investors just want to make money. Help them make more money. Fair to say, investors want to make more money, yes?
That's what we do.
That's right. So when we're qualifying our investors, there are a couple of things that we can do as agents to quickly qualify them first, early on, so that we don't have to waste time on them later on. One thing, send them a quick text saying, hey, how are you looking to finance this deal? If they say they don't know, it's time for you to train them. Right, so a lot of qualification is a matter of training. It's a matter of, here are my contacts, reach out to these guys or gals. Sometimes you got lenders who are just better in certain locations, connect them with those lenders. Massachusetts lenders typically won't lend in Rhode Island, and Rhode Island lenders typically won't lend in Massachusetts unless there's a special connection. Sometimes you can be that connection. The other piece that's really important with referring lenders is making sure that the investor has experience. One of the pieces that you have to ask is, hey, how did you come into real estate investing? Why did you decide you want to do this? If they're working a 9 to 5, there's a good chance to get the W-2, get them pre-approved, get them through the process. If they already have a house, then yes, you're going to have to go through additional forms of financing. But here's one of the pieces that a lot of first-time investors don't know is that they can own or occupy the property, right? 3% down, own or occupy the property. This is a great opportunity for you to buy a house with very little cash in and still start cash flowing and get that experience. If they haven't gotten their first property, it's your job to make sure that they do it. So pre-qualifying your investment buyers, this isn't a huge lesson. I'm not going to make this one too long. And next week, we're going to move forward into a further detail of how to actually work with an investor, get them through the process beyond just the money. Say they get their money tight, we're going to shift them into actually having that conversation and do marketing. Is marketing something you think would be valuable to teach an investor how to do? Do you think it'd be valuable to teach an investor how to go find property for you so that you can then go on the appointments? Yes, excellent. I think Matt's just shifting his stick, but I'll assume he's voting in with us. Yes? Yes, got you. That said, there's a class we have on Alchemist University called Get the Money. Get the Money is all about the creative financing options that a normal, basic, just starting investor has. There's about 6 different ones on there, and we walk you through the process on how to teach your investors how to get the money. There's 2 things you require in buying a piece of real estate. 1 is the desire, 2 is the money to do it. Without the desire, nobody's going to make a move. And without the money, you can't do shit in real estate. People may say you buy houses with no money. That's absolutely true. We buy houses without our money in all the time. But in order to operate with OPM, other people's money, you've got to understand how other people's money works. Does that make sense? Other people's money doesn't just flow to you because you said, shit, I'm going to start buying with OPM. I'm going to buy with OPP, other people's property. Well, it doesn't happen just because you're thinking that way. You've got to actually build the skills to go and get other people's money. So first, learn how to get it yourself, right? Go away and watch the Get the Deal, Get the Money training, and then you can go and give that training to your investors. The easiest thing you can do is train people to get the money. It's so simple. It's so, like, conceptually, it's so simple just to say, hey, dude, like, go and do these steps for getting the money that will allow you to buy more property. Once you've lined them up, if they still have the desire, you've got a buyer. If they still have the desire, you have a buyer. After you teach them how to get the money and they're willing to do what it takes to get it, and as long as the numbers still work on the property, we'll probably 2 weeks from now, we'll go into how to actually analyze a deal for an investor to make sure it makes sense as a flip. And we may do another training for investors to make sure that it makes sense as a rental property. Does that sound like a training you guys would be interested in? Learning the numbers, learning how to evaluate for your investors? Okay. Excellent. It's part of what we teach our agents. It's part of the process to make sure that they feel confident and comfortable bringing the numbers to an investor. If you can bring the numbers to an investor after they already have the money lined up, because there is no point in talking to an investor until they have the cash, until they have some sort of understanding at least of the cash. Because let me qualify that. In many deals, and I'm sure you'll understand this, in many deals, first you have to know the property before you know where you're going to get the money. First, you have to know the numbers before you can go present it to an investor. But before you go and get a deal under agreement, you have to know the channel. You have to know who you're going to go talk to next. If it's this type of deal, okay, now I know I go talk to this person. If it's that type of deal, I go talk to this person. If it's that type of deal, I go and I talk to this person. So that gives you confidence for getting these deals under agreement, to having conversations with realtors. Now, once you've got the deal and you've got it lined up, then you can go to your financing person and you can start lining that piece up. Only then do you know that you've got a buyer. Only when it's under agreement do you know that that person is a true buyer. Does that make sense? Even though there's a lot of ways to qualify. There's a lot of ways where buyers will potentially be wasting your time. They're suspects. They're not prospects, they're suspects. And they're taking you through the loops. Well, there's a simple way to make sure they're not wasting your time. Educate, send videos, send trainings, and then ask questions. Hey, did you watch that training? Hey, did you watch that video? Did that make sense to you? Did you get that? Have you lined that up yet? And you don't have to spend any time on this investor until they've gotten their money lined up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't spend any time on an investor until they can give me a city. Hey, Mike Shine, what city are you buying property in right now?
North Kingstown. I got a couple. North Kingstown, East Greenwich, and Newport. And, if I can't find anything there, I'll go to Pawtucket.
And Mike Shine, let me ask you, and by the way, this is not something I brought up earlier. Mike, if I can ask you, do you own property in those cities right now?
Yes, I do.
That qualifies them. So there's a rule of, hey, don't work with investors all over the place unless they own property in those cities. Does that make sense?
And not in Pawtucket, but I owned in Pawtucket in the past. So.
And because you've owned in Pawtucket in the past and you see the opportunity there, it makes sense to work with you as an investor in the Pawtucket market because you have experience and you have the equity and the capital. You have the money. Mike, is it any issue for you to line up money right now?
No.
Like, even remotely?
No, I'll just call you.
That's it, man. The universe is abundant. You've got the connection with cash. So, hold on. You mean I call your note due? What are you talking about?
No, you lend me money, I lend you money, and it all works out. It's a
That's
wash.
how it works, Mike. I'm lending also at 14 and 2. You're a friend, and I like you.
Touche. Mine's gone up to 15 and 3.
Oh, only the next deal. For this deal, you're locked in. I had my attorney write that up.
Yeah, right.
I love it. So that right there, Mike is a solid buyer, right? And Mike is the epitome, like the perfect example of a buyer because he's got money no matter what. Like any angle that comes up with, he's knowledgeable, he's intelligent, he's got all the connections, he knows how to line up the money, and he has a desire. So he has a desire to do the deal. The only thing that I haven't spent the time with Mike on is actually setting up his marketing campaign so that he can have more deals, which, by the way, Mike, if I was a good friend, I would encourage you to do a mailing campaign and set you up with like Ryan McGovern to take all those appointments. Why haven't I done that with you yet?
Yes, let's do it. That's so cool. I'd be up for it. Let's do it.
Done.
Nice.
So that's something me and Doreen have been working on. I have not presented it to you because I really was looking to build a cold calling team with you, but for whatever reason, we've been hitting blockages doing that. And so, you know what? Let's just go straight to mailers. It'll be a little more expensive, but it'll be faster. You'll get more leads, and within 3 days of the mailers going out, you'll kind of know where you stand with that campaign and whether deals happened or not.
Yeah, and then I can be on Eustace's team. We're a team we don't call.
Team we don't call. So, Dorina, if you can remind me when we get back from New Jersey, let's work on setting up a campaign for Mike so we can give him something so he can start getting some leads. And then, Mike, we'll shoot you a text and see which market you want to work in. But that, ladies and friends, ladies and gents, sorry, Eustace, what do you got?
Me too. You can set me up too.
You too?
Yeah.
We'll hook you up too, brother. So, Dorina, can you take those notes? So we're going to set up a mailing campaign for Mike and Eustace. We'll discuss the budget, see what makes sense. She's already written it down. Very good.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
A business side note, get a business partner and then date your business partner or date a different business partner. Now you have multiple business partners.
You
Only date
date-
one rule. Date one. And the
You're
other ones
dating
you line
Ron.
up. Right?
You're dating Ron.
But no, sometimes, Mike, it feels like a date. It feels like a marriage. We were tied in all things financial. Like sometimes it's like, well, I don't know if Ron would be okay with me spending that.
Brenda and I did a list through a company, Yellow Letters Complete,
Yeah,
and we did send out. So maybe I can forward those to somebody to make the calls, because I got yelled at by the first guy, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah. So that is, if you're a cog in the wheel, you're a clog in the wheel. We want to remove anything that would stop you, any blockage. And so by moving you over to having an agent's number on those mailers, completely wipes you out of the call, completely wipes you out of the situation. And because that agent's going to give you a specific number, they'll know when that number comes up, it's Mike Shine's lead. Like that's what the number would be in their phone or in their CRM.
Awesome.
Mike Shine's lead or Eustace Payne's lead. This way, when they answer it, they're like, okay, like I got to find out this person's name, but I know whose lead they are. And then boom, hey, Mike, can you give me that? What offer would you like on this property? Eustace, what offer would you like to put on this property? Agent goes to the property, handles the situation. So it's easy to build those campaigns when you have a solid investor who has the cash, able to invest. And like, honestly, in this market, if an investor tells you they want to buy off market, but they don't have the cash for marketing, shit out of luck. Like, I'm sorry, like this is a seller's market. The only way you're going to get an off market deal is you're going to spend a little bit of money. You want to save 50 grand? Look, you're going to have to spend $2,000-$3,000. That, like, the math makes sense.
that's so cool, what you said about the clog, because that really has been a clog in the universe for me. And Brenda and I want to be at like 10 properties by the end of the year. So that would be huge.
It's entirely possible just by speeding up the process, pulling yourself out of the machine. And instead of being a cog in the wheel, you just become somebody who's greasing up the cogs, right? Just making sure everything's working, paying attention. You're an operator instead of a piece of the machine itself. That said,
well, sorry, if you think about it, that's all my end game was. I just want to own more properties. I never wanted to learn how to be a wholesaler. I know there are people out there that do, and they're totally into it, and you're doing a great job coaching. But for me, I just want to own more cash flowing property. That's
absolutely.
I hope you guys are jealous of my office, by the way.
Yeah, Newport, not so bad, man. So that's one of the benefits of real estate. You can pretty much call anywhere your office.
right.
Very good. That said, this Saturday at 10 a.m., we'll be doing our next training. And the training is Wealth Principle. I believe it's 23. Mike, is it 23?
Yeah, 24, I think.
24. Wow, we're already up there. So 24 is you will fail. Don't give up in the process. And let me see. I think it is 24. You're right. So Wealth Principle 24 is coming up. You will fail. Don't give up in the process. The book of the week will be The Alchemist.
The Alchemist. Oh my God, my favorite book. I love this book.
You'll get to hear Mike Shine talk about The Alchemist, deliver his piece on why it's such a valuable book for the community. And you'll hear the principles around not giving up. And there are many times, either as an investor, as an agent, as a wholesaler, sometimes just as a human being, where giving up seems like the easier, better option. But I assure you, if you stay in it long enough and you trust the process, there is more money than you can imagine on its way to you. As we speak right now, flowing towards you, flowing to you, there are avalanches of money just on their way. And all you have to do is open up and receive and accept that. And the way we receive is by taking right action. And right action is so easy to understand once you understand it. Once you finally take the time to understand what the right thing to do is, the right way, the right time and place to do things, man, it's so simple. These next few weeks going through the how to work with buyers process, we're going to teach you. Show up Saturday at 10 a.m. Every Saturday. We're going to teach you the 52 weeks to wealth. We're going 1 week at a time because they are the Millionaire Wealth Principles. Look, if it takes you a year to learn the principles of millionaires, it would be worth it. Agreed? If it took you a year, if it took you 3 years, it would be worth it. We'll continue to run these until you're rich. But trust me, if you start now, that's 1 week sooner to your wealth building. If you wait and delay, it's 1 week further away. And the sooner you get rich, the better and happier your life is. That said, cheers to your success. Go to walteramarello.com/live. Register for Saturday's event at 10 a.m. I will see you there. Mike Shine will be there presenting the book of the week. Eustace Payne will be there. He's in our mentorship program. I know Matt Springer will be there because he loves training, earning, learning. Marcia and Alan are always on the call. Cheers to your success, ladies and gentlemen. Love you guys. Night.
When you work with someone, what's your language?
When you have a choice,
You have a choice.
always work with the best.